Hi, I'm Marcia Mason. As a resident of Abiquiu, New Mexico, I became fascinated with local stories about Georgia O'Keeffe, which abound because of her legendary art and her notably distinctive personality. Georgia O'Keeffe spent her most productive years in Abiquiu, a small, picturesque Hispanic and Native American village located in the winding back roads of northern New Mexico. This is a story about her life in Abiquiu, not lived as the recluse as many biographers describe her, but as a contributing, caring member of the village of Abiquiu. This is a story of her relationship to a small Hispanic boy, a boy that she loved and taught how to paint. From that relationship comes a story that shakes the world of modern art and everything we believe about the other O'Keeffe, Mother O'Keeffe. In early May of 1929, Georgia O'Keeffe and her friend Beck Strand left New York for Taos, New Mexico. New Mexico affected O'Keeffe profoundly on many different levels. Spiritually, she felt free to be genuinely herself. She wrote to a friend, "I wish I could give you a feeling of the completeness that I have." It was as if some part of her life was ending and another beginning in the vast and beautiful landscape of New Mexico. O'Keeffe returned to New Mexico in 1934, discovering an area called Ghost Ranch that captured her spirit and overwhelmed her artistic and aesthetic sensibilities. In his biography, Jeffrey Hogarth states, "Ghost Ranch was nirvana to O'Keeffe. She walked for miles in Mexican sandals, taking in the majesty of the place in a state of detached awe. Ghost Ranch reaffirmed her vision of the world as a place of brilliant light, fantastic form, and pure color. Over the next rise of a cliff or across a plain of sagebrush, there was a place of spiritual unity." O'Keeffe was now convinced that New Mexico was her home. The only reason she returned to the East was to be with her ailing husband, Alfred Stieglitz. She told a friend, "If you ever go to New Mexico, it will itch you for the rest of your life." Stieglitz feared that her love of art and New Mexico were stronger than her sense of loyalty to him, and he was right. By the early 40s, after several more visits to New Mexico, now renowned and famous, Georgia O'Keeffe departed New York and moved to Ghost Ranch in northern New Mexico permanently. Soon thereafter, she bought and reconstructed an old home and moved to the nearby little Hispanic and Native American community of Abiquiu, New Mexico, where she lived until the 1980s. O'Keeffe was a complicated woman with a stoically simple lifestyle, whose reputation as being difficult to deal with preceded her. Many people who worked for her said it was easy to get along with O'Keeffe as long as things were done her way. She once adamantly exclaimed, "When so few people think at all, isn't it right for me to think for them and get them to do what I want?" So in the past, O'Keeffe had many relationships that were short-lived because people became too intrusive in her life or simply disagreed with her. She was infinitely more comfortable with the natural world than a world with complicated, demanding human beings. However, there was a close relationship that O'Keeffe had with a young Hispanic boy from Abiquiu named Jacopo Suazo, also known as Jackie. It has been misrepresented or left out of most biographies, as is much of her life in the village of Abiquiu, her home for over 40 years. Abiquiu in the 1940s was a poor, remote village.